Sacred complex with ethnographic example. Sunil, what is your answer? Which example will you take?
Gaya while.
That's all. Gaya, LP Vidyarthi. And sacred complex refers to?
Sacred geography.
Sacred.
Sacred performances and sacred place. Personal.
Okay. Then what is the significance?
It is a way of integration and where great traditions meet little traditions.
Very good. Very good. Do you see in that lesson, I'm using the word integration. I integrated so many concepts. Great tradition, little tradition, universalization, paraclization, NMS complex, sacred complex, LP Vidyarthi, all, so many concepts just in one chapter. Because they're all interlinked. What is the link between great tradition and little tradition and the sacred complex?
The link.
What is the link?
So great traditions influence local tradition and local traditions influence great tradition with the sacred complex. With the role of sacred complex.
Exactly. Please. Okay. This is how you link concepts. So LP Vidyarthi's contribution is different in the sense, this is not about a village or a tribe. This is about Indian society. Because we studied tribes and villages, that's all. But this is not that. This is about totality of Indian civilization, how unity is produced through cultural transmission. This is a different way of looking at it, coming under Chicago School. There is one question on contribution of American anthropologists. Write this. Robert Redfield, Malcolm Marriott, Milton Singer. That is American anthropologists. And LP Vidyarthi influenced by them. Redfield. Okay. So this is a different concept, different way of looking. So explain these concepts and then explain the role of pilgrimage centers. Is it clear? Write everything and then mention his book and then certain details. Now try this. Examine nature man spirit complex as an ecological concept. NMS complex as ecological concept. So many questions on LP Vidyarthi. So many concepts on LP Vidyarthi. So tell me why so?
He included ecology also in the nature, where he talked about the role of nature.
Role of nature. Okay.
So
Role of nature means what is the ecological approach? What is cultural ecology?
That how we culture are a result of adaptation to the environment.
That's good. How culture is a result of adaptation with the environment. Very good. And whom did we study under cultural ecology in thought?
Bali of fight.
Julian Stewart. Balinese fight is about interpretative.
Gordon Child.
Child.
Marvin Harris.
I
Maran.
got Julian Stewart. Julian Stewart wrote preface to this book. In fact, I got more details from JSTOR magazine. I did not take from Nadim Hussain. I wanted to do at least these concepts from Nadim Hussain, but I found better sources. So there, understood. Julian Stewart wrote the preface, foreword to this. And explain the context of cultural ecological approach in your answer. Always link it to theory. Okay, link it to theory. And what is the case study here? What did he study?
Maler.
Maler. Yes. Okay, you're talking about the tribe. I was asking you about the thinker. Okay, fine. Maler. And he did it with his university students. Okay. I added criticism to that, which is not there at other places. What was the criticism?
I think causation, like
Causation is important. It is not simply, for example, at marriage ceremony, they are praying for this god, at this ceremony, they are praying for gods. That is easy to say. But the question is explaining the causation. Why should religion be like this? Why should lineages be short? Why should clans be non-totemic? Causation. I don't think he gave. I did not read the book, but if he gave any one causation, these people would have discussed. Okay, but definitely the article I read says that he did not explain why lineages are short. Okay, so I took it as an example that what is important is to explain causation. Okay, so you can say causation is important. And then you talk about Marvin Harris. Marvin Harris established the causation. Why cow is sacred? The sacredness came from ecological conditions. Okay, so we need to establish causation to get the links. Okay, so I don't know what causation he gave, but I mentioned in the article that some of the things are not explained. But I don't know what he explained. I don't exactly know, because in any article that I read, nobody gave causation. Causation is different from saying that all these things are going together. Okay, so you can criticize that. Contribution of LP Vidyarthi to the field of anthropology. What will you write? Nature man spirit complex, sacred complex, and what is the significance of those three? And then its use in applied anthropology.
Culture intervention has to be holistic. Cultural.
Holistic, appropriate.
We discussed this.
Huh?
We discussed in this when we were discussing gender, feminism, and how.
LP Vidyarthi, right?
Not LP Vidyarthi, sir. Cultural elements are integrated and how intervention.
That is true. That's true. That is there everywhere. Contribution of American anthropologists to Indian anthropology. Which American anthropologists will you consider? Which American anthropologists here?
Marriott.
Robert Redfield, Mickey Marriott, Milton Singer, Great Tradition, Little Tradition, Universalization, Paracalization, and then influencing LP Vidyarthi. Okay. I don't think you can write about anthropologists in America, how they influenced people here. They have influenced in so many ways. It's not like that. Who are directly involved in Indian society. I don't know. You maybe you can include Marvin Harris. Marvin Harris also is American anthropologist. Then he gave study on sacred cow. I don't know if that is expected here. Okay. Next, try this. Critique of great and little tradition. These concepts are introduced to one, also in caste, under caste. Critique of great tradition and little tradition.
In tribe also.
Yes, in caste I included, in tribe I included, 2-3 places included. Okay, critique of great and little tradition. Try that. Critique of great GT and LT. Critique.
Culture always flows from
Yes,
I.
culture always flows. I mean, first of all, what do you write under this? First of all, critic doesn't mean you write only critic. You explain how these concepts came, who gave, what is the context. But coming to the critic, what would be the critic? Critic would be, why should we think only in terms of two? One can think in terms of multiple traditions. I included S.C. Dubé's criticism. Why should we think only in terms of GT and LT? Multiple traditions, and traditions are diffusing and spreading, and that is how unity is produced. Why should we think only in terms of GT and LT when there can be multiple traditions? And then when you are thinking of multiple traditions, what is the number? The number can never be specific. So it's simply a case of cultural transmission between the mainstream and local. But how do you answer this? Examine the interplay of little and great traditions in the context of globalization. What does this mean?
Can you explain more on critique of GTLD?
GT and LT means that you are categorizing traditions only into two. But why should there only be two? It can be Western, national, all kinds of things. S.C. Dubé, for example, said more traditions. For example, in Andhra Pradesh and Telangana, there is Telangana tradition, Andhra Pradesh tradition, villages tradition, and old religious tradition, and they are influenced by Western tradition. So how can you fix any number? Isn't it?
So even the words great and little itself are big.
Great and little, maybe one. Great means he may not mean great, but just in the sense that majority
But
means.
it looks like a misnomer kind.
That's fine. Okay. Yes. Examine the interplay in the context of globalization. GT and LT.
So can we also say it's an ethnocentric view, saying great his
No,
influence.
there I don't think he meant it only in the sense that they are inferior. He didn't say like that. Because they are of small size, local, decentralized, he's calling them little. Great does not mean great. He didn't say it in ethnocentric sense.
But can we link GT to ideological approach because it is textual based?
Ideological approach is reference to text. Yes, linked. But ideological is yes, great tradition is coming from textual. Yes, ideological. But ideological approach means something more than this.
Hmm.
GT, remember, study of GT includes study of LT. Because GT is defined as opposed to LT. So mainstream versus local. But you try to answer this question, examine the interplay between GT and LT in the context of globalization.
The same point. We are blindly emulating and losing.
That's true. That's true. So somebody is producing something from mainstream, and for example, West is producing colonialism, so many other things. But is it not influenced by the local traditions?
Local of West, sir. What is local to West?
The world, because this is about globalization.
Yes.
For example, yoga. Isn't yoga a little tradition in the context of globalization? Meditation. Meditation going to the West and becoming globalized. Is it, I mean, can't you, we can think like that. Something local entering the mainstream and from the mainstream going so many places. That's how uniformity is produced. So you can take it as a general process. Mainstream versus local, or global versus local. From local to global, from global to local. So it is in that sense. Isn't the West influenced by local cultures, local food, Chinese food, music, meditation, spirituality, crafts, even crops? So cultural elements move from local, regional to global, and from global, it goes to many places. Isn't it? So as there is going to be more globalization, there is going to be more unity. More unity. Unity is produced through spread of traditions. So broadly, you can think in terms of major, minor, great, little, mainstream versus small. Okay, localized versus widespread. So I think this can be used in a general context. Next, try this. Socioeconomic characteristics of shifting cultivators under economy. Socioeconomic characters of shifting. Okay, characteristics of shifting cultivators. Socioeconomic. He's talking about socioeconomic characteristics of shifting cultivators. Tell me, what socioeconomic characters that you can point out? Sunil, what can you say about their society?
They move, keep moving.
They
keep moving from place to place.
really do shifting cultivators move?
Sorry. I thought that they shifting characteristic. Okay, difficult terrain.
So,
Shows egalitarian society.
egalitarian society, yes. Relatively egalitarian. Okay, next. Properties.
Subsistence.
Subsistence economy. Communally held property. Communally held property. Okay. So a village head may assign lands to the families. Okay, village head may assign lands to the families. Okay. Then communal. Okay. How about food diversity?
They have a diverse.
Much more food diversity. Multiple forest. This forest, many crops, roots, fruits. Okay. Tell me, I think one important thing about that article is that when you keep the land fallow, does it mean we are not using it? They are not using it? It's not like that. They are using the land. They are not using it for cultivation purpose, but they are using it for other purposes. Okay. It can be fruits, trees, or kind of a forest. So the entire land is taken as different levels of zoom cultivation. So fallow land doesn't mean wasting it. Fallow land means not cultivating it. Maybe animals are using it or other things. Subsistence economy. Okay. Socio-economic character, subsistence economy, no market, no surplus, communally held. Okay. Likely to be isolated, because of which there is no temptation to produce the surplus. Okay. So many northeastern tribes are practicing that. Discuss alternatives to shifting cultivators in the context of ecological cost and humanistic concerns. Try this.
Sir, for the above question, lack of specialization can also be one. There is no
Yes, lack of specialization. Alternatives to shifting cultivators in the context of ecological costs. Okay. Did I give more specific alternatives in the article? Yes or no? Very, very specific. Just before the reasons for intensive agriculture. Terracing suggested as an alternative. Terracing. Terracing means terrace cultivation. Okay, it is a hilly area divided into terraces. Okay, terracing cultivation is a cultivation followed in hilly areas of northeast. So terracing cultivation is an alternative, but he says it requires heavy inputs and fertilizers are costlier. Leaching losses get exaggerated. And then one more alternative is 3-tier system. Upper part of the slope left forested, one forest, mid for plantation crop, and lower part being terraced. Terraced for cultivation. Means forest and plantation and terracing. This is another alternative. Produced by ICAR, given by ICAR. May have only limited application because it is too rigid a system that would interfere and would conflict with the social organization of the tribes. So in giving this P.S. Ramakrishna's comment, I indirectly covered the proposed alternatives. Foresting, plantation of the plantation crops and terracing. Okay. And of course, this is about alternatives to cultivation, but urban occupation, self-employment, various kinds of skills, crafts is a different issue. So essentially, weaning away from cultivation, shifting cultivation. But what are the criticisms that this man is offering? He's saying it disturbs the society because these methods are either too rigid or call for greater use of resources and only some people use, and so that leads to classes. Okay, it is not saying that there should not be, but he is just saying that this is how culture is integrated and connected. And you can take this example on shifting cultivation to your questions on applied anthropology. It can even be nature man spirit complex. Okay, so what is a shifting cultivation? Why are they doing it? And what are the alternatives? And if alternatives are offered, how society changes? Tell me, is it clear? So it gives the specific methods, comment, and how it is viewed. And you can also take it as an example of cultural relativism versus ethnocentrism. Okay, because those who criticize shifting cultivation compare them with the mainstream, which produce for market surplus. So mainstream societies produce for market, produce surplus, and they're consumer oriented, urbanized, whereas shifting cultivators, subsistence based, ecological friendly, egalitarian, a different kind of society. So when you are trying to make a shifting cultivating society to another, the issues of cultural relativism come into picture. And these are the issues relevant in applied anthropology also. Tell me, are you clear? So you can use this example at many places. That is the reason why I gave these examples, not just to answer the question on shifting cultivation. So understand and link and use it at variety of places. Okay, and this also incidentally explains how intensive agriculture came. Intensive agriculture came because of small increase in population. Population is pushed, and when population increase takes place, then deforestation and less wild food, less animals for hunting. So then in one case, pig rearing. So basically people move from extensive to intensive as a way to respond to population increase. So that seems to have happened historically, and this is what one case study shows. So you can use this case study also at different places. Okay, so this can be used in variety of answers. Okay. Any questions? Okay, next try this question. Pastoralism in India. Pastoralism in India. First of all, tell me, is there pastoralism in India and how widespread it is? Sunil, what's your answer?
Sir, it is there because we have larger stock.
Exactly. Thank you.
We
Pastoralism is there in every village. Pastoralism is not about tribes. It is just that people are not called pastoralists. Actually, many people come under BC category. Okay, though the word pastoralism is not used, the different caste groups are involved in this pastoral activities. Golla in Andhra Pradesh. Okay, Golla is pastoralism. And there is one god from pastoralist tradition. Who is that?
Krishna?
Krishna,
No.
isn't it? Okay. What is the main wealth of one of the important wealth during Mahabharata times? Pastoralism. That is why they were fight about the cows and okay. Pastoralism was a very important source of income. So pastoralism doesn't mean some tribe. It's just that the tribe that I gave the Gadi or long distance pastoralism across seasons, hills, hundreds of kilometers. But otherwise, pastoralism is there in every village. Okay, we said one main problem with pastoralism is that the resources are shrinking. Okay, resources are shrinking. I think this also is contributing to pollution of milk. I don't know the exact details. Milk also is being polluted. It is because there are no resources. People are adding all kinds of chemicals to cows, which contribute to more yield. So grasslands are disappearing. Grazing lands are disappearing. Tell me, what is the most important advantage of pastoralism from environmental point of view?
The grass with conversion into energy, which we cannot use in the food terms.
You are producing food from grassland. That is one. And more importantly, you are producing food from grassland. That is another thing. Second thing is basically pastoralism is using the land through the intermediation of animals. Animals are used as intermediaries to use the land. That is one from consumption point of view. But actually from climate change point of view, grasslands and more animals will reduce climate disruption. In fact, in Siberia and many Russian grasslands, some scientists are thinking in terms of recovering the grasslands that disappeared many years ago. In fact, they want to construct recreate the animals who are the natural habitat of those grasslands. So they make huge difference to climate change. In fact, those grasslands and the animal farms are in reciprocal relationship. Okay, those grasslands require those animals because animals release certain things which are useful for those grasslands. So grasslands and the accompanying animals are important in fighting climate change. And even at a local level, um, these grazing lands for grazing, these are all important for climate change. So pastoralism is a important activity, but unfortunately everything is becoming industrialized, urbanized, but then we want milk and other things. So animals are being grown in some kind of a semi-industrial arrangement. They're imprisoned and then all kinds of food is given. Extremely unhealthy. In fact, because of such practices only we are getting more viruses. They are not in nature. They're in close contact with one another and then with humans. Okay. In so many ways, nature is being disrupted.
So what about overgrazing?
Overgrazing. Overgrazing is because of more animals and less land. Go for more land.
But where is the
Over,
land?
over, that is why that calls for different use of land. You need to, on the whole, consume less, and then you need to consume differently. It's like that. This massive industrialization is responsible for disappearance of grasslands and then shrinking of water bodies, rivers. Okay. So you need more grasslands, more land for grazing, more animals, and that is the way to replenish nature. Okay, you can see in any town so much of encroachment of trees, grasslands, because by the buildings and roads and all kinds of projects. Pastoralism calls for more green cover. Less consumption means less non-vegetarian also. In fact, non-vegetarian consumption is not an environmentally friendly way of consumption. Less non-veg, and that non-veg also coming from natural sources, not through these industrial kind of arrangements. Okay, which calls for more grassland on the whole. More grassland for the whole world. Okay. The West is able to maintain a good environment because it is taking the consumption from other countries. You cannot evaluate West simply in terms of what it is producing. It is its production, some kinds of production and the pollution it produces is less because it is consuming what is produced elsewhere. And so much of destruction is taking place elsewhere. But if you are taking globe totally, if you are taking the world totally, you need more grasslands and less consumption on the whole. Less non-veg consumption also. Because taking food directly from plant source is less resource intensive. Okay. So less consumption, more nature, more tree cover. Okay. So pastoralism is not something that should go extinct. Unlike shifting cultivation. Shifting cultivation, we should not be ethnocentric and we should pay attention to the shifting cultivators. That is different. But pastoralism is not like that. Pastoralism is environment friendly. That is a way to use the land. It is converting the land finally to consumable goods, and that conversion can take place in a sustainable way and which is good for nature. Shifting cultivation is there because of absence of alternatives. And of course, with the proper technology, maybe shifting cultivation can be done in a more efficient way. But shifting cultivation is not something that one will advocate. But pastoralism is not like that. So these two are different. Increasing the forest cover is one of the targets of targets under mitigating or managing climate disruption. Okay. So when we think a particular society and group is involved in environment friendly activities, then it means that the society should invest to make such a life sustainable and remunerative. Is it clear? So look at tribal life in terms of contemporary problems, one very serious contemporary problem being climate change. Subsistence economy, that itself need not be bad because climate disruption is so much that subsistence may be better. After all, they are living, as long as they are contributing net carbon neutral, it's good. Or if it is net positive, it is better. I think you can include these arguments related to climate change in your answers on cultural relativism, ethnocentrism. Because it is not that we evaluate them on the basis of ours. We have found that our style is wrong. Anthropology books have written in a way that we should not judge them on our basis, assuming that we are okay or reasonable. But modern civilization is in crisis. So if modern civilization is in a crisis, we have to look at them. What is it that we can learn from them? Okay. So please include arguments on related to climate change in your answers. Climate change, globalization. Okay. Make it up to date. Okay. Discuss how indigenous people encounter globalization. Tell me.
Displacement.
Gayatri, whom will you write about?
Sir, the tribes. I
Hmm.
have to.
The question is whom you cannot write about.
All the stripes are Andaman.
Exactly. Why Andaman Nicobar Islands? You can write about
All
cultivators, pastoralists, isn't it? What was their traditional economy and what is happening? So don't equate globalization with IMF and WTO and foreign exchange reserves. Okay? Globalization is about advance of modern economy, resource erosion. So what is happening to foragers, shifting cultivators? What is happening to pastoralists? Industrialization impact, culture contact problems, forest problems. Entire anthropology is about that only. Impact of globalization on tribal economy, same thing. Okay. Contribution of anthropology in understanding loss of livelihood of tribal communities due to economic and ecological factors. So how do you write this? Contribution of anthropology in understanding the loss of livelihood of tribal communities due to economic and ecological factors. Anthropology contribution in understanding loss of livelihood of tribal communities due to economic and ecological factors. What is meant by contribution of anthropology in understanding loss of livelihood of tribal communities due to economic and ecological factors? What is the difference between how are tribes losing versus contribution of anthropology in understanding? Is my question clear?
We can talk about what we can do in anthropology contribution.
Okay, what is anthropological contribution? Tell me.
Understanding how
What
we
is
are.
anthropology doing here compared to somebody studying something like deforestation? What is anthropological contribution to understanding of?
We are understanding how it is impacting the people across tribes.
But how anybody understands, right? What is anthropological understanding? Gayatri, what's your answer?
We take every discipline.
Hmm?
We take every discipline into anthropology.
What does it mean? Can you use certain specific words?
Holism.
Holism. Next, more specifically, cultural relativism. And then the branch, applied anthropology, nature man spirit complex, functionalism, cultural ecology. All this is anthropology. So don't say we have not covered role of anthropology in tribal development. What we are doing was role of anthropology only. Okay, so instead of saying that the forest resource erosion is taking place, what does it mean? Something affecting others, holism, economy, polity, nature man spirit complex. The totality is affected. But why do some people think it is okay? Cultural relativism, ethnocentrism, and why it should not happen like that. And intervention. What is intervention approach? Method of integration. No assimilation, no isolation, it is integration. Okay. So sometimes these are leading to ethnicity issues. Cover Northeast, how it finally led to ethnic movements. So when you are thinking of tribes, remember 3 regions: Central India, Northeast, and Andaman Nicobar. You can choose diverse examples. How it led to political movements, how it led to simply marginalization, how it led to finally depopulation and extinction. We have a variety of tribes. Birhor is one case, Naga is another case, Mizo another case, Sentinelese, Onj. So you can take them, you can take all of them as culture contact, civilization, state versus stateless, globalization, anthropological role, anthropological approach. Is it clear?
But to write this, the place in pages is not sufficient.
That is true. That's why you organize. It is first, it is important to know that you can write so much. And after that, you organize.
It's disappointing after that. After knowing that you can write so much,
That's,
there is no place
that's
to.
very good. Very good. That is a different feel. That is a better feeling, right? Than saying we didn't do much on role of anthropology. Okay. Role of anthropology in tribal development is not the same thing as role of anthropology in rural development. So tell me, now it's rural development is different from tribal development. Tribal communities. Next. Mostly, yes. How anthropological knowledge and methods are useful in rural development? How anthropological knowledge is useful in rural development? Tell me, can you write about shifting cultivators here?
No.
You can't. Andaman Nicobar Islands? No.
All village studies.
Village studies, exactly. What are village studies? It's about the caste connections, the links, Jajmani system, and then caste linked to religion. I gave one study on open defecation. Okay, you can go through that article. The author says main reason why Indians do not have toilets inside is caste, because they have an idea that the pit size should be much big. I gave the material. Pit size, page 9. For example, latrine pit size, cubic feet. WHO standard is something, and next Indian government standard is slightly more. Median privately constructed pit much higher, and ideal size in a dominant rural narratives is so high, 1,000 cubic feet pit size they want in a that is an ideal size for a villager, whereas WHO is just very few. It is less than 100. So they think of huge pit sizes, which comes out to be very costly. But why do they think of huge pit size? It is because they think that something that should not be touched and it should be removed only rarely after a long time. Why? Because of the attitude towards untouchability, dirt, pollution norms. So open defecation is more among Hindus compared to Muslims. And open defecation is more among Indians compared to other countries, for other countries of same economic status, GNP. So this argues pollution norms are linked to open defecation practice. Why they don't want toilets anywhere nearby? It's a Hindu mindset. So what is anthropology here? Anthropology is religion is linked to sanitation, economy. This is what anthropology is, holism. Which means these thinking patterns have to be addressed. This is role of anthropology in rural development. Are you following? Yes or no?
Yes.
Then I gave example of SHGs. How SHGs work? It is peer pressure. So if one woman takes and doesn't pay, other members will apply pressure on her. Unlike a woman taking from a bank. And it is woman empowerment, freedom from man's control. You know about SHG? You know about open defecation, but it is about linking certain things, linking variables is what anthropology is. So village studies, some cultural practices. So study holistically, interlink, and what is the most vulnerable link, and then act on that. That is what role of anthropology in rural development. Is it clear? So you can take these two examples. You can quote that study. But even otherwise, whatever the schemes you know, pay attention to various variables. Think in terms of gender, class, caste, religion, rural urban dimension. That is anthropology. That's all. Anthropology is not separate from what you are studying otherwise. You simply look at various factors and the interlinkages and try to intervene in such a way in a non-judgmental sense. Cultural relativism is one very, very important principle of anthropology. Don't impose. Don't be ethnocentric. That's true of rural development also. How Panchayat Raj structure is interacting with others. Deepankar Gupta study, we did. Andrew Betley study, we did. Dominant caste. These are all anthropological understanding of rural communities. Tell me, is it clear? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Difference between applied and action is that somebody by name Soltax proposed that normally in the name of applied anthropology, all kinds of agenda is imposed, that is, which may not be useful for the tribes. For example, colonial administration introduced certain changes which are not useful for tribes. So he made some radical proposal that the governments should not do it and private companies should not do it. The people who are really committed to tribal welfare without taking any salary from a company, from a government, should work with a commitment to the well-being of the tribals. That is called action anthropology. Okay, so voluntary action based with a true change. But then Soltax and his students worked on one particular project and they retained it. So mostly our discussion is about applied anthropology. It doesn't really matter who is funding, but that is the consensus now. But the word action also is used because it was said in one particular context that the people are not really helping the tribals, they are only helping themselves. Okay, so that's about applied and action. Okay, any questions? Okay, strengths and weaknesses of anthropology in the context of its role in tribal and rural development. Okay, let us look at weaknesses. Strength we discussed. Let us say what is weaknesses. Weaknesses of role of anthropology or limitation of applied anthropology. So let us discuss that. See, the first weakness is that are people really interested in helping? So basically people are interested in their resources, not in actually helping them. People are interested in their forest, in their resources, somehow grab the resources in the name of helping. Okay, that is the first problem. People are not interested. But in case they are interested, what should we do? The problem with applied anthropology is that now let us discuss conceptually. Applied anthropology is about application of anthropology in the context of development. But then it is not easy to know what is it that one should do. And moreover, whatever we know about one should do is not coming from anthropology. Take, for example, how do you change a tribal school? What is it that anthropology can teach? Anthropology will tell us the problems. What are the problems? Children not interested, parents not interested. They don't have future orientation. It disturbs their work. They can't sit for hours together in a class. They are not used to authority. Can't give homework. School hours clash with their working hours. There is no tradition of learning in a formal arrangement. These are the problems. So how do you handle? So in trying to handle,
Also the very relevance of our kind of
very relevance. Okay. So you try to change them, but in trying to change, what is found is that you may need to take material from educational psychology. So whatever you want to do, it appears knowledge is coming from other sources other than anthropology. For example, how do you handle shifting cultivation? It comes from agriculture and science. Pastoralism, forestry, botany, and other things. So applied anthropology doesn't have specific theories, specific sessions. There is a problem, and to solve it calls for interdisciplinary approach, which means knowledge is from other disciplines rather than from anthropology itself. So you can say that is a problem with applied anthropology. Where is the knowledge? Where is it coming? Okay. So that is a problem, but I'll be posting one detailed article written by one magazine. I'll post that also, where he discusses these issues. But I gave points in the material you can go through, but I'll post that article also. So this is about limitations and weaknesses of applied anthropology. So you can go through the notes. Next, tell me. Same thing, significance of cultural and administrative factors, similar questions, tribal development. Anthropology can be utilized in policy making. You just take example after example and then say this is what that can be done.